Laziness is one of those words that sounds like a diagnosis, but is actually just an insult wearing a lab coat. Someone somewhere decided that if you can't make yourself do things, you're lazy. And if you're lazy, it's a character flaw. And if it's a character flaw, then it's basically just who you are, and you should feel bad about it indefinitely. Which is a great system if your goal is to make sure nothing ever changes. Here's the thing. Laziness, as most people define it, doesn't actually exist. What people call laziness is almost always one of four things. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're afraid, or the task feels pointless. And none of those four things are laziness. They're just problems that haven't been named correctly yet. And problems that don't have the right name are very hard to solve because you keep treating the wrong thing. If you're tired and you call it laziness, you try to fix it with motivation, which doesn't work because motivation can't fix tired. Sleep fixes tired. If you're overwhelmed and you call it laziness, you try to fix it with discipline, which doesn't work because discipline can't fix overwhelm. Clarity fixes overwhelm. If you're afraid and you call it laziness, you try to fix it with a better schedule, which doesn't work because a better schedule can't fix fear. Understanding what you're actually afraid of fixes fear. And if the task feels pointless and you call it laziness, you try to fix it with productivity hacks, which definitely doesn't work because no amount of Pomodoro timers will make you care about something you don't care about. So the first step to stopping laziness is to stop calling it laziness and start asking which one of these four things is actually happening right now. Let's go through them. Tired is the most common and the most ignored. Most people who think they have a motivation problem actually have a sleep problem and a rest problem. The brain does not produce energy on demand just because you decided today is the day you're finally going to be productive. If you slept 6 hours and you're trying to do 4 hours of focused work, your brain is going to find every possible exit. Not because you're lazy, because it literally cannot run that hard on that little fuel. The fix here is not pushing through. The fix is not drinking more coffee. The fix is sleeping more, resting more, and not scheduling hard work at the time of day when your brain is already running on fumes. Overwhelm is the second one, and it's the sneaky one, because it disguises itself as not knowing where to start, which then gets mislabeled as laziness. But not knowing where to start is not a character flaw, it's an information problem. The task is too big or too vague, and your brain can't find an entry point, so it just stands at the door and refuses to go in. The fix is to make the task smaller and more specific until the entry point becomes obvious. Not just smaller, embarrassingly smaller. So small that doing it feels almost pointless, because that's the entry point. Once you're inside the task, the overwhelm mostly disappears because now you have momentum instead of a wall. The third one is fear, and this one is the one nobody wants to admit to because fear sounds dramatic, and most of what you're avoiding is not dramatic. It's an email, it's a phone call, it's a project you've been putting off for 2 weeks. But fear doesn't have to be about something dramatic to be real. Most task avoidance is quiet fear. Fear that it won't be good enough. Fear that you'll start and realize you don't know what you're doing. Fear that finishing it means it can be judged. Fear that if you try your best and it still isn't good enough, then you'll have to update your opinion of yourself. And that is a significantly worse outcome than just never finding out. So you don't start. And you call it laziness, when what it actually is self-protection. The fix for fear is not courage. Courage is also a terrible long-term strategy for the same reason willpower is. It depletes. The fix is shrinking the stakes. You're not writing the final version. You're writing the rough version that no one will ever see. You're not making the decision. You're just gathering the information you'd need to make the decision. You're not sending the email. You're just drafting it. When the stakes are low enough, the fear shrinks proportionally. And then you can actually start. The fourth one is pointlessness. And this one is the most honest of all four. Some things you can't start because some part of you has correctly identified that you don't actually want to do them or don't actually care about the outcome. And no productivity system in the world can manufacture genuine interest in something that doesn't have any. This one doesn't have a quick fix. but it does have an honest answer, which is that if a task consistently feels pointless, you're allowed to ask whether it should exist on your list at all. Not everything that feels hard to start is worth starting. Some things are hard to start because your brain has correctly assessed that they don't matter. So the actual version of fixing laziness looks like this. When you can't start something, stop and ask which of the four it is. Am I tired? Am I overwhelmed? Am I afraid? Or does this actually feel pointless? Then fix the actual thing. Sleep if you're tired. Shrink the task if you're overwhelmed. Lower the stakes if you're afraid. And honestly evaluate whether the thing matters if it feels pointless. That's it. No motivational speech, no discipline challenge, no cold shower. Just naming the right problem and fixing that specific thing instead of spending another afternoon feeling bad about yourself for being quote-unquote lazy, when the truth is you were just tired or scared or didn't know where to start. The word lazy is a dead end. Every other word on that list is a door. Anyway, I'm collecting donations in the form of subscribes to fund the next video.